You're good to
Okay,
go.
we'll bring the meeting together. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call. Bowman here. Laporte.
Here.
Patterson.
Here.
Frazier.
Here.
Audi excused. Rush.
Here.
Honey.
Here.
Okay. Approve agenda.
Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. If we could add item G, the agenda item would read, it's to be a second reading to amend the Township Ordinance, Article 4, Section 4.6.2. And when we get to that point, our attorney will read that second reading for us.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Okay, presentation. Zach Goodhart with Michigan Lake and Pond.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So I was asked to come today to explain a little bit of the project we're starting over on Sherwood Lake. We're going to be starting vegetation treatments. Primarily right now, we're going to focus on the swim areas and the fishing platforms. We'll come down the shoreline a little bit on the south side of the swim area to try to give a little more relief for shoreline fishermen. Right now, the focus is primarily on that close to shore vegetation control. In the future, we have vegetation surveys for the entire lake to map and identify invasive plant species. If you've been to the lake recently at all, you can see that it's just topped out with invasive water milfoil in many areas of the lake. So the long-term goal will be to map, identify, and formulate a plan for eradication of the invasive species, try to get the lake much more usable for recreational purposes, safety purposes as well. I think that's kind of the gist of it right now. I was gonna say, we're just getting started. A little late in the year. I think the plan to move forward is to start in April of next year and stay on top of these things before it gets out of hand.
Chair, for me. Zach, I had a quick question too. I know we spoke on the phone about that. There was I know that, again, I don't have the greatest memory, and you'd be able to just spew off the product that you'd be using, but we were just want to make sure that it's safe, obviously, for fish, for habitat, for people and all that. Just providing that documentation. Were you able to get that over to our township manager by chance of what product would be used?
No, I'm sorry, I have not got that yet. I can. I can tell you the products that we would be using are all aquatic approved herbicides through the EPA and then again through the state of Michigan.
Right.
So when it comes to fish health specifically, toxicity of the products that we use are never a concern of ours. We're using these well below the label maximums. And a lot of times when we run into a situation like this where there's dense vegetation, we'll actually use low rates of multiple herbicides just to ensure that we get nowhere close to those label max. The only time I get concerned of fish is more on smaller water bodies. When aquatic plants are decomposing in the water, it does drop the oxygen level. We're treating roughly 1 acre out of a 17-acre lake, so I really have no concerns about oxygen depletion for these fish, but that is something that we actively monitor and are assessing before our treatments.
Got it.
So,
I think you got a permit process started too as well. And
the permit has been applied for. It's the state's ANC team, Aquatic Nuisance Control. So basically I've submitted all those approved herbicides that I would like to use. The state will review, issue a permit, and at the end of the year, we file reports with the state showing when we were there, what we used, what areas we treated. There's also, we'll coordinate with the township before treatment to make sure you guys are well notified and whatever notification you can give to residents before a treatment date. At the time of treatment, we will post 8.5 by 11-inch yellow treatment signs along the treatment area, and then an additional 100 feet beyond, showing any products we use as well as any restrictions that there may be. While technically most of these products do not carry swim restrictions anymore, we still post a 24-hour swim restriction just out of best practice. You will see irrigation restrictions on the signs, even though it's probably not applicable here. 3-day for lawn irrigation, 5-day for plants and ornamentals, things like that. So all that will be posted on the sign and then relayed to our point of contact as well.
Cool.
Once you do this treatment, how long does it last?
So it depends on the plant species. What we'll see about 5 to 7 days after treatment, you'll see all the target plants starting to wilt. Typically within 10 to 14 days, they're falling down to the bottom and start decomposing. Because of where we're at in the year and the amount of growth, we have 2 treatments that are going to be back to back, about 14 days apart, just because of that density of the vegetation. So I would say you can expect pretty big results around that 3-week mark, 3 to 4 week mark after our first 2 treatments. With algae, it can grow back fairly quickly. With submerged weeds, it typically takes weeks, if not months, again, depending on the plant species. So there's a lot of variables there when it comes to algae. You know, it's a larger water body, so I don't have concerns of algae being there in the next week or 2 weeks. The primary issue out there right now is the submerged weeds. The algae that is there is just clinging to the tops of those weeds that are topped out in the water. So again, looking forward to next year. The plan we proposed was 6 treatments through the season to maintain control of these plants. That would be monthly starting in April and continuing through September.
Chair, I have a question. So did you say that you're just going to be doing over by the swimming area and then over by that one platform for fishing? Are you not going anywhere over into the other section, you know, because that's almost like a Pac-Man's, you know, and then the point comes in. What about that other area on the other side? Are you not doing anything in there?
Not right now. So we are conducting a lake-wide vegetation survey, so we can identify which plants are growing, their densities around the lake, and then we can formulate a more in-depth plan on how to potentially eradicate the invasive species from the lake.
So what about between the swim area and the fishing area, that in between there, is that just parts of that's going to be hit, or is?
We can come down, I don't have the exact measurements in front of me. We'll come south of the swimming area a little ways, and basically what we're gonna run into is permit restrictions from the state. They will allow us certain areas that we can treat for what they call nuisance plant growth. Outside of nuisance plant, and let me back up, nuisance plant can be invasive or native plant species, right? So when I submitted the permit, we outlined the swim area, the fishing platform, and an area south of the beach where I told the state that people were trying to fish from the shoreline, right? And that's what they'll allow for our nuisance plant growth right now. Outside of that, we are only able to target non-native plant species. The state, Michigan in general, is very specific about their lake management. You know, if we were to target certain invasive species offshore with different products, you could have collateral damage and clean up all the weeds, right? And that's not good for the ecosystem. We want to make sure the health of the lake is the first priority, and that's why with that, the vegetation surveys, our main focus is the invasive species.
Are you going anywheres past, say, going, that would be if the swim area, west of the swim area? Into that other area that I'm talking about, because that's pretty choked right there. If you go between the point and the swim area, that is really choked right there with weeds. I mean, you were saying that looks like where the beaver runs through the weeds and leaves a trail.
Yeah.
That is really choked.
That's part of it around.
That is part of it?
It's around the swim area there, yeah.
To the west of it.
A little bit. There, like you said, there's restrictions on the state, what we can and can't do right now, but it's a progressive thing that we're just trying to get a control on it right now, from what I understand. and then formulate a good plan going forward. We're just trying to wonder what we can expect to see. We're not gonna
Yeah.
treat the whole thing right now this year.
So the state lets us come out 100 feet from shoreline, and typically, it's a 100 by 100 foot area, so only a select 100 foot of shoreline. Because this is for public use, they're letting us extend that. Again, I don't have the permit map in front of me. I believe it's somewhere around 270 feet from one end of the beach down around to the other. And then there is 70 feet around the fishing platform. And then out 100 feet. As I described to Bart, obviously we're putting liquid herbicides into liquid. There's gonna be some dispersion, so we'll have a little control beyond that. But that's where we're gonna be focusing the herbicide and the control for now. And then once we have a better idea of the plant quantities, plant species, we're gonna formulate another plan to attack the other parts of the lake. Most likely, where you're seeing areas topped out and choked out are invasive plant species, so likely those would be targeted in future plans.
Chair? Yeah, looking into the future, what are your, what's your opinion on aeration in the pond?
So adding aeration has a lot of benefits. I often tell people it's not a necessity, but anytime you can add oxygen to the water, it's
Yep.
going to help from a fisheries standpoint. And then a lot would be determined if we end up using beneficial bacteria in the lake. Bacteria that already exist in the water body, we simply supplement more, give them some vitamins and stimulus, try to build the bacterial colonies in there. The bacteria's whole purpose in life is to consume organic material. So whether that's leaves that have fallen into the lake, dead aquatic plants, all that organic material is at the bottom in muck, decomposing, producing excess nutrients. So if we find there's reason to add that bacteria in any part of the lake, adding aeration will definitely boost the results you see from that. That's probably one of the biggest benefits, but overall, anytime you can add oxygen, especially from a fishery standpoint, would be good.
Because there's, excuse me. Yeah, because that lake, the way it's set up, you've got, the middle of it's quite deep.
Right.
And I'm sure there's a lot of stratification happening there with the water table. And I think breaking that up, I've got a 3.5 acre pond myself, and makes a huge difference.
It does. One of the bigger hurdles we will have goes back to the state. The state puts a hard line on 10 acres. Below 10 acres, they're pretty lax. They consider that a pond. Over 10 acres is considered a lake. There's much more in-depth process with testing and permitting whenever you want to add aeration to what they consider a lake. And at 17 acres, we're obviously over that.
So
10 acre
we'd
mark.
actually have to get a okay from the state then to do some type of variation?
Yep, there's going to be considerable testing with macroinvertebrates and all kinds of fun stuff. So,
Boy, they got a lock on everything, don't they?
Michigan is certainly the most regulated state in the country when it comes to aquatic nuisance control.
Yeah, is there any costs associated with that, to just inquire about it?
I mean, there's not a whole lot more information other than apply for the permit, do your testing, and we'll let you know what happens.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Wouldn't it make more sense just to dredge the pond, remove all this, so it doesn't keep coming back? I mean, because the pond is only 1 foot deep till 20 foot out, or shoot more than that, huh, Bart?
Oh, yeah, it's pretty deep.
I mean,
Right at the end of
wouldn't
the
it
dock,
make more
it's like
sense
5-6 feet.
to just bring in a machine that could reach out 60, 70 feet and dredge that pond and clean it up all? It's not gonna come back then, rather than keep treating it and treating it.
So,
I understand.
a couple things there. With the non-native plant species, most of them, especially Eurasian milfoil, the dominant one in there right now, does spread by fragmentation. So unless you get every piece of that out.
No, I'm sure you wouldn't get every piece of it out, but it sounds logical that it would be a lot better than just
Well, you know,
killing this spot and that spot and.
he's gonna
And-
finish.
So, again, right now, we're only targeting those two small spots to provide some relief. When we do have those surveys completed, we'll have treatment areas, and when we attack the invasive species, we're attacking them systemically, killing the root, eradicating them from the water body. That cost is going to be substantially less than dredging. You have the cost of dredging alone. We don't dredge, I can't give you an accurate number on what that would be, but you can't typically take these spoils and disperse, say you wanna fill out the back 40 and grow grass back there. That doesn't happen with the spoils of this. Again, with the permitting process, if it's gonna be taken off site, it needs to be taken to specific landfills. If it is buried on site, the state has even additional rules on lining it, almost essentially like a landfill.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, when you explained it to me, I thought of like something that's, I like analogies on it. Kind of made it sound like when you have dandelions, that those things just go everywhere. And just by cutting it down, seeds go everywhere and it just keeps coming up further and further. And if we just dredged or pull it all up, it could just make it even worse. And you would be an ongoing thing from what it makes it like it has to be treated properly to where it doesn't come back.
Yeah,
Is
the
that,
best.
am I taking that wrong or?
No, you're right. You know, and whether it's dredging or harvesting is another popular, water combines essentially, and just cutting the plant below the surface. Both are the same thing. You're spreading by fragmentation. You're gonna infest more parts of the lake. When we can get in and control it systemically, it's a pretty fast process for eradication, and then through continued surveys, we monitor the lake for any new invasive growth that could come in multiple ways. But outside of the invasive species as well, your native plant species are gonna grow. Your macroalgae, Cara, it looks like a weed. It looks like a green Brillo pad down there at the bottom. It's an algae. That's going to continually come back, so you're going to have to treat repeatedly for those anyways. You can think of it as mowing your lawn, right? Those algae and native plants are going to continue to come back. It's just a different point of attack.
Chair. So when it's shallow like that, doesn't that promote more growth when it's so super shallow like that? Doesn't that make those weeds that are in that area grow faster? So if it was deeper, they would not be growing as fast or as thick probably because they'd be deeper down. The reason I say that, I go to other ponds, I like to fish. And the one over here in Ash Township, it goes down pretty quick. They don't never have this, ever. They do in a couple spots where it's shallow, but it just seems like where it's shallow, we get more. And I've ice fished that, so I know out in the middle, you look down in there and it's like nothing when you get out into the deeper. So my thought is, isn't the shallow part causing part of this too, because of the fact that it is shallow, so the sun's giving it more than it would if it was over there in a deeper spot?
Yeah, so that area of the lake where plant growth, where the sunlight can reach the bottom is referred to as the littoral zone. I'm not sure there's a notable difference between the speed of growth in the plants. Obviously, it's gonna become a nuisance faster in 2 foot of water than 10 foot of water, just once that plant reaches 2 feet, right? But yeah, once you get to the depths where the sunlight can't penetrate, plant growth stops. You know, every lake's a little bit different. You know, I would say if I had to put an average on it, you got 30-35% of a lake is a typical littoral zone. While we haven't surveyed this whole lake, just from what I can see, you know, you might be closer to 50% on this lake. So yeah, you're bound to have a few more nuisance plant issues.
Back to you.
More
Thank you, Zach.
questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it
sir.
coming.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for having me out.
Okay, moving on to public comment. Anthony Burdick. I don't agree with that.
Good evening, Board, and Mr. Bowman, good evening. How are you,
evening.
sir? It's nice seeing you all. I wanted to come in tonight because in the last meeting, my contract was approved, but I didn't get a chance to walk around and say thank you because you went into a session. So I wanted to stop in and say thank you. I deeply appreciate the opportunity to continue being of service. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Anthony Burdick, and I'm the Executive Director of the consultancy. So, once again, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I look forward to working with you at the board's choice and that of Mr. Martin's as we go forward. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Okay, Nicole Van Asten.
Good evening, Board. Just have a couple things. One is the update on the Family Fun Day. Just want to give the Board an update on that. It's a very successful, fun-filled event. Had a lot of laughter. We had about 300 in attendance. I'd say this is pretty good considering we've been resurrected from nothing since 2020, so congrats, Parks and Rec. We also had a lot of success with the Lions Club in attendance. They did free vision screenings for children. And these are very different than the ones that you get at your pediatrics office. These are something that you would have to get at an optometrist. And there were several stories going around about how children found out that, they had poor eyesight or even stigmatism, and they got a referral to go to a doctor, I thought that was incredible. We also had our first annual watermelon seed spitting contest. Our resident Quentin was the winner with 48 feet.
I know, I couldn't believe that. How do you spin a watermelon?
It was a lot of fun. I would just like to thank the board for all of your help. We had a lot of fun, and for those of you that allowed yourself to get dunked and soaked by the residents, thank you, especially you, Tim Rush. And we'd also like to thank Cliff's Grab and Go and Rainey's Ice Cream for coming out and supplying ice cream and food to our residents. And, of course, the Lions Club. And a big thank you to Ron Tabor, our Director of DPW, for always going above and beyond to help Parks and Rec in Sumpter Township. Mostly, we would like to thank our community for entrusting Parks and Rec again to host successful events. So thank you to them, and thank you to everyone here tonight and to all of our Parks and Rec committee members. Last, we have an upcoming event that has been approved by the board. Just wanted to make an announcement on that. On the back of the table today, you're going to see a waiver, and that goes to either the treasurer's box for anyone that wants to sign up for the garage sale that is going to be hosted. It's a yard sale, pardon me. So yard sale is going to be in the back of the fairgrounds, which is behind the police station. Inside, into the community center, that is where you're going to have more of a craft show. So that is going to be hosted August 22nd, 23rd, and 24th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day. There will be some treats and things that are going to be sold on property, but essentially this is just a ginormous yard sale with everything you could possibly imagine. Questions, it's $5 a space for outside, $10 a space for inside, and that's per 20 by 40 space. Any questions that everyone has, they can call the township, and Parks and Rec can help coordinate to get those things set up. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, Kay Harris.
Canada is still on fire. I am still asking for a drone. I know of a firefighting drone that could pick up water from Belleville Lake. We live in a forest, and they would bring water to the immediate danger area. I'm confused as far as the special permit for the junkyard, because business shipping and receiving is going on, and I can't find a permit being pulled to do any of the site plan work. other than he delivered some rocks that I'm sure once he's approved, he'll take them back home. And I remember the gas station that was supposed to be a market that turned into a gas station. So although it seems as though it's already been approved because business shipping is going on right now. The firewall is the other concern. I'm hoping that you would consider putting in a firewall because of the lithium batteries and the amount of cars that are backed up in there. And again, on your way home tonight, just look, we live in a forest. All right.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to minutes. I make a motion to approve A through F.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Okay, moving on, approve warrants of $416,443.54.
Roll call vote, please.
Okay. Bowman, yes. Laporte,
Yes.
Patterson,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
Addie excused, Rush,
Yes.
Honey.
Yes.
Motion carried. Okay, finance report, Jay Campbell.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, community, township employees, and anyone else I may have missed. The first thing I want to say is that I had made a promise to you to get you your warrants the day before the meeting, and I know that that didn't happen. So I apologize for that. That's on me. And I have made changes to some schedules of workflow and things like that, and I'll be responsible for directly emailing you those warrants Monday at the end of the day before a board meeting. So that's on me. I apologize for that.
Thank you.
The next thing I want to talk about is the royalty payments. We had gotten ourselves 2 months behind on our royalty payments that we received for that landfill agreement. And I spent several days calling several different locations, trying to get to somebody who would talk to me about what was going on with those royalty payments. I was getting really worried that there was something at play that I was unfamiliar with. But finally, the day after my report was due to be on the agenda, I got a phone call back from one of the many messages that I left and was told that they didn't realize there had been a problem with the billing that happens in a different state, and something had gotten caught up with our payments, but they assured me that they were going to have 2 payments in their check run last Friday. So they didn't come yesterday and they didn't come today. I'm hoping they come tomorrow. But I talked to the person on the phone and, made sure there was nothing wrong with our agreement to receive those royalties. She assured me that everything would be smooth going forward, and then that it was really a technical error on their end. So that's good news.
Yeah.
The next thing, so you can see in the royalty report that I gave you, those numbers are TBD, so you'll see those in my next report. Interest earnings on investments. This was something that Treasurer Patterson talked about in an investment committee meeting, and I thought, well, that's a good thing to provide to you guys on a regular basis is, comparison. I can go back 3 years on that history of our interest on our investments. And as you can see, last full fiscal year, our interest earnings on those investments was $710,000 compared to the year before, $428,000. So we're really capturing some good interest income on those investments. Any questions about that? Okay, The next thing I have is our first read of the 2025 purchasing policy revision. And hopefully you've all had a chance to take a look at that. It's basically a pickup of where those of you who were here, I think in, well, I don't know what year it was, but it was a few years ago, maybe at least 5 years ago, we're working on a revision, and it had stopped for whatever reason. So I picked that up, I made some amendments to it, and the main thing that I want to bring to your attention, there's a couple sections still under construction, as you can see, is the new revised approval levels. And we're taking it to a much simpler approval status, which when we get into the purchase orders, which is the next thing to add to this, a lot of that approval will happen electronically, automatically, and you'll be able to see that, and I'll provide reports on that when we get rolling with that. So we have purchases up to $5,000, requires a certain set of conditions. Purchases from $5,001 to $15,000 requires a more secure set of approval conditions. And then purchases of $15,001 and up are going to go through the formal bid process. And, you know, the board is involved at some level on all three of these levels of approval. So any questions on that? And now I'll talk about our first budget amendment for this year. And I'm not going to read through this line by line. I just want to point out a couple things that might help you decipher this when you have a chance to look through it, or if you've had a chance to look through it. I have broken these out. Each fund is its own separate budget. And what I've done is I've shown you the original budget that was approved back in, I think, March. And then a plus or minus change to that number, the new proposed budget in that line item, and then I'm providing you with a description of some things that may have changed with significant numbers. So the first page, if you look at, say the item that's shaded, where it says MEDC, it's shaded because that's a brand-new account number that we added after your last amendment, or after your original adoption. And the change here is $25,000 we're adding to our budget revenue because we have a new parks grant that came up for, it was the one that Reggie Miller sponsored for us through the state, and it's parks specific. So that's basically just how this works when you read through it. We added, if you look down almost to the end, we added $14,400 budgeted revenue for the recreation department, and that's for the county park millage that we've recently been working with the county on. It's a levy for park improvements. We were actually past the deadline to work on that, but, you know, you give somebody a call and they've got the money sitting there and they're like, sure, you can turn that in late and we'll be happy to give you that grant money. So if you turn to what is numbered page 3 in my budget, you can see some of the changes in expenditures. Well, the capital outlay in the township supervisor was budgeted for $100,000, but I took that out because it's my understanding that that was last year's budget and it was already spent. So
You took it out?
I removed that. Capital outlay, I'm sorry, in the township supervisor's budget.
Pardon me?
We didn't spend any money.
For those
I know.
that do,
For
if you could
capital
repeat that
improvements.
last part?
We can spend it now, though, right?
I don't know.
Well, my
Yep.
amendment took it out. If you, if you still had intentions to spend that money in that
Oh, yeah, we have
function.
intentions to, it's just getting around to it.
Okay.
Yeah, and,
Well, we can-
Julie, I guess what the point is, you said we spent the money.
Well-
We've spent nothing.
In previous years,
Well, for
Wasn't the office
last year,
redone?
that money was budgeted for a remodel of the supervisor's office.
Yeah,
And we didn't do any of that.
Nope.
well, I apologize. I was told that that is the revision, the way it sits right now.
Nope.
No.
Okay, well, I'm the new kid, so I
No
will
problem.
fix
No
that in the
problem.
next amendment. How's that sound?
Who's the-
Some of these things I added, like if you're looking at page 4 and you see an addition of 10,200, I'm aligning that with last year's actual spend in the contracted services for our IT support. I'm assuming that we're not dropping any of our software services that we use township-wide right now. And so we didn't budget enough to cover last year's expenses for renewals. So I added budget there to cover those things. It's another good one I can show you. Postage is going up on page 7, so I added $5,000 to the postage account because we've already spent a good deal there. We only had $4,000 to begin with. Our current spend was quite a bit of money, so I added $5,000 to accommodate the rest of the year and the increase in postage. It's not going up, it went up this month. My apologies. On page 8, I added capital outlay at township parks, $25,000. That's to go along with the $25,000 in revenue for the MEDC grant. One other thing I wanted to point out in general fund is on page 13 of the general fund budget. We added back in the Parks and Recreation Department, which had been idle for about 5 years. And so I added back in a line for operating supplies, a line specific for our Family Fun Day, which you approved for $2,000. And I think after talking to Nicole earlier today, they came in just under budget on that. So once those bills are all paid, we'll be able to see that. And then I've got a note on the right-hand side that shows you what your restricted fund balance is for Parks and Rec. So I will always put that there to show you what your savings account is as a portion of our general fund balance. Below that, I do some calculations. I show you what the beginning fund balance is, and if it's in italics, it's unaudited. If it's not italicized, it's audited. And then I show you what those revenues in the budget total, what those expenditures in the budget total, and what our new estimated ending fund balance will be. Any questions? Oh, and there's one of these for every fund that we have activity in. I didn't do all the funds that exist because some funds just sit there and don't do anything, so there were no modifications necessary to those funds. So there is a budget for every active fund in here that has any kind of amendment.
Thank you.
Careful, Nate. Quick question, on the purchase order policy, I didn't get a chance, I know this says just first read and all
Yes.
like that. That will be a separate agenda item and all that for future and everything like that, correct?
Yes, like, as a first read, I think that you don't
Right.
act on that as a board yet. You just
Correct.
give me feedback.
Yep.
And then when I eventually come to, to whatever the final read will be, and everyone's happy with it, then it'll be an actionable item.
Got it. Yep, I just saw, it said, August 1st, so I don't like.
And that's highlighted because I know it has to change.
Right, okay, gotcha.
I don't want to
I'm like,
miss it.
We gotta
when-
cram on this thing, we gotta cram on
No,
this
no,
exam.
no. I might wear a cape, but
Right.
man, I have limitations.
We'll look this over the next week or so and And I guess what she's asking too is you're asking for input from the board.
I am.
Suggestions, whatever the case is.
Yes.
So email you with any corrections, revisions, whatever suggestions.
Yes, I would love feedback.
Yep.
First read, what else do you want to see? What do you want to see different?
Got it.
Anything like that.
Thank
And the last thing I wanted to just say is that one of my next projects, right now we have a water fund, and we run all of our water and sewer activity through that fund. I would like to separate out the sewer from the water so that we have actual profit and loss in each category, because they are separate categories for us. I'm not sure why they're all in one fund, but it makes it really hard to determine what our profit and loss is on water and when we should increase rates, what our profit and loss is on sewer, when we should increase rates. So that's something that will be forthcoming. That'll be a pretty big project, because I want to go back as far as I can to make sure I get everything in the right place to get to a starting point. Conversely, I also believe that some of the funds that we have that are small and have very little activity, aren't major funds and could go back into the general fund with its own department codes. It would be easier for budgeting, for accounting, for identification of costs and revenues and things like that. It's also a best practice in governmental accounting not to have all these teeny tiny little funds all over. And the funds I'm talking about specifically are the rubbish, royalties, 911 service, and the library funds. And those would be easier kept in the general fund, but separately identified with their own set of codes. And I hope you would agree to do that. It just makes for cleaner financial reporting and budgeting and all those things. So,
Yeah, Chair. Julie, does, I'm, with Carrie being in the same office with you, has she been helpful with you to kind of
well,
get you up to date on some of the history and stuff?
we don't, well, somewhat. I mean, my position and her position run parallel. They don't really
Okay.
work like on the same things at the same time. So there are a lot of things that I'm doing with my financial director hat on that Carrie doesn't know about, and then I go digging into archives and researching and asking questions and, doing all the figuring out myself. She's the accountant, and she does the transactional day-to-day stuff. And she knows some history from working with Scott when her and Scott would have conversations. So she has been helpful, but
That's good. I was just curious.
yeah, there are a lot of things that are not things she's done in her
Okay.
history here that I come across.
Any questions?
Anything else?
Thank you, Julie.
Thank
Thank
you.
I make a motion to accept the finance report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Water and sewer.
Afternoon, board members,
Doing-
Mr. Bowman, Township residents. Water report for July 2025. We billed cycles 2, 4, and 9, and totals billed $283,917.15. We also, the total was $377,636.36, which included water taps, capital benefit fees, hydrant rentals, water services, and custom grinder tanks. Our cash inflow, again, was $377,636.36. Our aged accounts receivable, billed but not paid. Age receivable is $153,945.28. That's monies billed but not collected. Our delinquent accounts for aged accounts receivable is $84,258.56. Does not include current bills. As far as the water department, just a couple of updates related to the DPW and water and sewer. With all the rain, the grass cutting has been keeping our employees very busy, but hopefully that slows down a little bit. We can get this more of the work in the parks and stuff like that. We ordered new metal for the pavilion at Grand Park. It came in this morning, and I'm looking forward to getting that on the building within probably next week. Excuse me. Water in the water area. The crews are still out weed whipping the fire hydrants. We're doing a lot of stop box repairs. We are starting the lead and copper testing this month. So if you live in an older home and you have some concerns about your home's water quality, and you would get it tested, no charge from us. We'll come out and get it for free testing. You can contact us at DPW. You can call Township Hall, and we will get that out there and get you scheduled up for that. On sewer, there's not much going on. In sewer, we actually changed two or three grinder pumps, and that's about it with sewer. And that's about it for me. You got any questions?
Motion to accept the water and sewer report?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you.
Okay, Township Manager, Mr. Martin.
Good evening, elected officials. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My report is in the packet. Again, I'm not going to read line by line, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I do have a couple updates since the report was written. We do have a CPR training scheduled for August 6 and 7 for the staff. The UKG system should be up and running. The UKG folks say August 4th. Debbie Nogel, the HR specialist, thinks that's a little optimistic. It might be pushed back a week. Optimal date would be the 4th, more than likely the following week. A couple of snags will work out. And also, as far as the DPW position, we are interviewing for that on Friday. Debbie, Ron, and I. So it'll be all pretty much most of the morning and afternoon process. Do you have any questions for me at this time?
Motion to accept the TM's report?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Ken.
Thank you.
Treasurer's report, Mr. Patterson.
I don't have too much to add, just a note on the investments we have. We have 3 CDs, I believe 2 of which are maturing in September, and we're going to have further discussion at the next investment committee meeting. But one of the investments that we have has been earmarked years and years ago as pension. And it's been a kind of a little bit of a confusing thing as to what that means. It's something that the board, there was really never really board direction. We think that it was past finance director individuals had pulled it together as like if the fund starts running short and we have a backup, we have this. So we've just, when I came in office here, we just, rather than just sitting, I think it was getting like a 0.5% interest was one of them. And we started investing, and we've kind of kept it there as an investment, but it's kind of a misleading. So we're going to have a better direction, maybe a suggestion, probably end the last meeting in August for the board to consider as far as what we do and what we title that. And because it was even at one time, because right now our funding for our pension is pretty fully funded, but obviously that's always dictated upon market and how things go. So if the market ever took a big dip, then maybe we need to reinvest and put some more into it. But right now the market's doing good. We're very well funded when it comes to pension. So with this just sitting in a CD and just keep reinvesting, maybe we want to keep doing that. We'll just have that discussion as a board. So it's actually official board direction and not something that was done 15, 20 years ago without board direction. So with that said, just ask to receive and file the treasurer's report.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Okay, board response. Okay, we'll move on to unfinished business. A, consider approval of the township's amended earned sick time policy to conform with State Earned Sick Time Act, ESTA.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. New business. A, consider approval to purchase 11 new radios and encrypt 16 current radios for the police department from Digicon Global in the amount of $54,033.60.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. B, consider approval to accept the bid from Supreme Creations in the amount of $21,656.25 for the application of the protective epoxy floor coating in the Sumpter Township Fire Department house bays and gear room.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. C, consider approval to translation Gabrielle
Transition.
Massel from temporary part-time election clerk to full-time election clerk at the rate of $27.77 per hour per the collective bargaining agreement beginning July 28, 2025.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having some discussion on it, if you don't mind, Chair.
Nope.
I had asked the township manager to put this on the agenda for me. Gabrielle Massel came to work as a temporary part-time worker May 14, 2024. She was hired by the last board and the last clerk that was in the position. She come in to support the elections for the presidential election. She came in to work with Karen Armadas, Dawn Haniak, Samantha Herman, and herself. Obviously, she did a great job through those elections. Actually, I wasn't sure if she actually had the skill set to do the job, but I stood corrected very quickly. She was certified through the Michigan State Bureau of Elections, which training I had to go through, and it's not fun. She did a fantastic job with that. Very good worker, comes into work every day. She's very respectful. She keeps her business to herself and gets her work done. Fast forward to November, I was elected to this position. I was evaluating staff. I wasn't sure who I needed, how many I needed. I know I said at one time, I'm not sure I need her. Well, that was pretty bullheaded of me and not very smart, because very much do I need her. There's a lot of work that goes on, because now we don't have Karen. We don't have Dawn. We have Samantha and Achina. What's Achina's last name? Hall. I thought it was Hall, but I don't want to misspeak. Without Gabby, it leaves two people to run an election. That's a tall, tall order. To the point where I think some of the members on this board doesn't even understand how many people it takes to run an election. I didn't, so I ran the numbers. It's 46 election workers to run 4 precincts for this community. That's a lot of work to put in, especially when you consider in elections past that we've worked, it's always been one day, right? One day, it's one and done. This last election cycle was 9 days long. That means we had to rotate people every day to work for these elections without burning people out. So they all had a scheduled day to work, because we had to work on the weekends. We had to work during the days. You have to have people here to do those. Some of these election workers will not be coming back. Some of them, as you know, they time out. They've said, enough's enough. I'm getting up in age, and I just don't want to do this anymore. Because if any of you've been to vote or old enough to vote, you'll see a lot of the election workers are mostly the older residents in the community. So we can't ask those workers to keep coming back time and time again. So we have to reload with people, just like we do in the clerk's office. We have to reload that office with knowledge. A lot of knowledge walked out the door in November. We have one solid person in there right now, without the hiring of Ms. Massel tonight, that could actually perform the election. And keeping in mind, if I'm on the ballot during the next election, that worker can't even work the election because she's related to me. So then we'd have one person that's never been through an election whatsoever. without Gabby. So I think it's time that we start investing in our future. We invest in getting the right people with the right skill sets. We have 3 years to get people up to speed, get them trained, so we can perform what we are required by law to do. 2 things we're required by law to do as a government setting up here. One's collect property tax, give it to the state. The other one is to provide an accurate election. We must do those 2 things. So I'm asking the board to give some courtesy and, reach down, think about the right thing to do for the community. And I'm asking them to hire Gabrielle Massel. Now, keep in mind, all the reports you heard tonight about being filed and read and created, the clerk's office stores all of those documents, no matter what office they're in. Treasurer's office, supervisor's office, they all get stored in the clerk's office. Every piece of paper that comes into this building and goes out of this building goes through the clerk's office. So not only do you have to perform accurately and complete elections compliant with the state, you have to keep the counter open, you have to answer to residents. And here lately, 75 calls a week just in trash complaints. Is there another office in this township that wants to take those phone calls? Because I'll happily route those calls to them. I'll send them to the treasurer's office, not a problem. Supervisor's office, police department, fire department. I don't see anybody raising their hands. It's a lot of work, and we're asking very few people to do it. So, again, I have to apologize to her for kicking the can down the road so long. I myself have approved her temporary status twice. Just wasn't sure if we really needed her. I couldn't have been more wrong. So, again, that's all I have to say about the item. I hand it back to you, Chair.
Chair, if I may?
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, we all understand about the poll workers. We know that's a tough part. It's part of being the clerk. And as far as the phone calls coming in, I can tell you for a fact, I look at our clerk's call log, and we get a ton of those, which she consolidates answers and gives them to the clerk's office so you guys don't have to deal with them. We appreciate everything that the clerk's office does. There's no issues with that, Don, but we're here to talk about creating a full-time position, which I don't have a problem with, to tell you the truth. I don't have a problem with Gabrielle. She's wonderful. My main question is this gonna seal everything up in the clerk's office? You're not gonna need anybody else for the next major election in a year and a half?
I'm sure we're gonna probably need a part-time person. I can't look into a crystal ball and tell you exactly where we're set. I could tell you we're not without her. I can guarantee you that part. I mean, guys, we had experience here. We had Karen Armadas with umpteen years experience in elections. Dawn Haniak, top-notch with elections, no longer here. Samantha just cut her teeth in the last presidential election. She's been through one. And then we have Gabby and Achina. Achina's never been through an election, not one. Gabby's been doing election work in this township since she was 16 years old. Again, I can't read into the crystal ball and tell you what it's gonna look like. I could tell you what it'll look like without her.
Well, I'm not talking about Gabby. I'm talking about when the next election rolls around, you're gonna request more people?
My goal is to get all 3 of those girls plus. And I'll say plus because I believe each one of you guys know, and some employees in this township know. I am gonna require all AFSCME workers to work the election that day. I mean, we're in uncharted territory here with a lot of green new people on 9 days of voting. The requirements from the state have only gotten more and more on us. They haven't gotten less.
Yeah,
So if we're
we've been
only,
up to speed on it.
we're only fooling ourselves to think that we can do it with less people, honestly. And you know, in an ideal world, I'd like to look back and say, you know what, I want to interview 5 people for this job. I really would, because I've been a big component of doing the right thing, posting a job, and everybody knows that. We've talked about that up here, but in my experience with her, I know what I'm getting. She's been 14 months doing her interview, day in and day out, coming to work. I mean, she's done her interview for me. I mean, I think she's a top-notch young lady. Actually, I'd like to shake her dad's hand. He's raised a respectable young woman. You can't ask for more than somebody to come in and do work every single day.
Yep.
You know, without complaining, without stirring the pot.
Don,
without,
you've answered my questions. Chair, back to you.
Sure, I have some bad,
Okay, Bart,
unless you want to go.
no, go for it. I'll next.
Don, I don't, gosh, yes, Don, you can call me Bart. So, Clerk Laporte. These are things that again, too, you just said it in the last statement, you said you've been the biggest proponent of following policy, following procedure. I still feel as though that's something that we need to do. You mentioned about kicking the can down the road. You've even done that yourself, kicking the can down the road.
yes, I have.
So it's, with just last board meeting, you know, and again, we're not in the past, we're here now. It was just extending a temporary part-time position for another 90 days. And now all of a sudden, it's an emergency and it's
No,
an
no,
on,
no,
and
this
we have
isn't-
to do this right now.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. This isn't an emergency. And I had asked to put that on an extension last meeting, and I apologize for not being here for it. But when it was totally ignored, and I looked at the video and I went, they're not even gonna, you know, we've gotta do something.
Well-
You know, the moment is now. I mean, if we're not gonna do it now, when do you wanna do it?
Okay, with that said, there were phone calls, there were questions, we were trying to inquire about it, we weren't getting much, I know that you had a vacation and all that involved, so there wasn't much interaction, involvement, questioning. When we get our agenda, we try to find out what's going on.
Yep.
And it's nothing like, I don't want anybody to think that there's anything, that I have anything against Gabby. I've always said, very nice lady, very well dressed, very well represented. Nobody has anything bad to say about her. So it's not that, it's a process, it's a
the
policy,
process that we went through.
Sure, so that's all that my question is like, when I talk about the process, I mean, we, historically wise even too, it's, the board has decided that there is the need for a position. And that would be the clerk presenting to the board saying, there's a need for a position. Then the board says, okay, we agree that there's a position. Now let's post for that position.
Right.
Then there's interviews for that position. Now, maybe it ends up being Gabby that's right here, but we just did this, as I mentioned before too, with Rachel. Almost the exact same thing. I think she was here maybe 8 months, 10 months, a year, something like that. And like, it ended up being Rachel, but we still followed the process, and you're a big advocate for that. Follow the process. We can't just hire her. We have to go through the process, posting, getting in. I think we might have interviewed, we even interviewed the supervisor's son-in-law. There was 5 people, 6 people that were interviewed. It ended up being the person that we had here. It probably will end up being Gabby, but I just think my feeling is, again, too, that we just need to follow the policy and the procedure that we've had in the past. Now, with that said, talk to our township attorney. And I understand that sometimes I don't want to, I was going to make a joke here about something that I saw in a movie about, absolutes and stuff like that. When I hear things stated, that you must do this, you must do this, you must do this, well, not necessarily. It's sometimes what the reality of it is. I checked with our township attorney. I said, I want to be in violation of violating a rule that our board has set forth in the past and set precedent. Well, we can break the rule whenever we want to. Let me sit back here so I can chat with you. So with all that said, when I hear, well, the board can do what the board wants to do, it's a red flag for me. Yeah, I get it. We can create rules and policies and procedures for us to follow, but we can also break those rules It's a tool. I can see a need in doing the math and how, and when we had a person, but when we had assets in the clerk's office and we had 30% allocated for the previous payroll elections clerk, that they were in the elections off, they're in the clerk's office, and then we had we also had approved for whether it was a temporary part-time or permanent part-time. That's still kind of gray, but we saw a need for another person. So I can see the need for another person at the end of the day. I just feel uncomfortable not following our process for hiring. And that's my only point.
I feel we have followed the process. I feel that, when she was put on as temporary part-time, we had a slot that needed to be filled then. She filled that spot, and like I said, she's shown the last 14 months, she's more than capable of doing the job. She's done her interview for the last 14 months unequivocally.
Don, I don't want to interrupt you, but when she was originally hired, Esther hired her, right? There was no process.
The board hired her.
Not first, but
No.
that we're getting in semantics on it too, and that's probably pointless that we bring up that.
Well, to you it might be pointless,
Correct.
not to me.
I understand.
Okay. We'll leave it at that.
But again, if I could just continue on to it, when I say the process, it's just like, I just gave it our township manager, the board approved position description inventory list, and it only has one clerk's office assistant listed in the clerk's office. If we're making a case, and we had a payroll election clerk, but the asset in the office at the time wasn't doing as much in elections, very little, and now we have somebody else doing payroll. So I understand, like, again, too, like, do we, again, in a perfect world, maybe it seems like we add that position to the inventory list. We approved a post. We go through the interview process. Maybe what we do, if we need to buy more time, and I hate to, again, kick this can down the road, maybe is that we do approve for even a 60-day or a 90-day extension, so that we can work this thing all out, go through the process, get that done, and then officially it is something that I have no arguments at all. If I was sitting on the interview committee, I'd be like, why would we look at anybody else?
Yeah.
Other than somebody that's
Would everybody
been
agree to
here,
that
been tried and
if
true.
we went for a 90-day?
Why are you turning away the obvious? I don't
I'm not-
understand that.
I'm not turning away the obvious, but I don't want to turn away a process, is all that I'm trying to say.
Chair, I got a question.
Yeah, I've said enough, I'm sorry.
It's no different than promoting, say, at the police department, correct? I mean, we allow the police chief to decide who he's gonna promote within his department.
Yeah, it's different than that.
Well, okay, so,
That's
and then
not
you
like
wanna
that.
bring up due process. Well, I remember before Chino went to the clerk's department, it was posted. Did we ever conduct interviews?
Yes, we
Because-
did.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
With
And
all
we
the,
actually-
with
we
all the
had-
applicants?
And we had to stop interviews.
With all the applicants?
We had applicants.
Before you guys decided that she was going to the clerk's office,
Yeah.
did you interview all the applicants? Did everybody get a fair shake?
There's a labor contract agreement, if you want to discuss that, that's something.
I'm just asking, I'm trying to
No,
get
the
myself
answer is
up
no,
to speed with it.
Because to answer that question is that we got into a position where ASME contract labor, it needs to be a union employee that has first dibs at a position that's available. And when we took on Carlisle Wortman, the person that we had in there was going to be moved someplace. So we realized that, well, we can't interview and bring on somebody that's new. Well, where would this person, you have to open, like, once you create a position, it has to be open to everybody else first in the union, is from what I understand. Now, the attorney told us tonight, he says, I thought we might have done away with that. I don't have the labor contract in front of me. But with that said, too, just, again, it's a hypothetical, we create the position, and then maybe another person in the DPW says, well, hey, I want to work in the clerk's office, or I don't know. I don't have that answer.
Yeah,
I'm
just
not a
trying to get
labor
myself
attorney.
Up to speed and relate it to
Yeah.
this situation.
Yeah, well, it's a good question, but, yeah.
Back to you, Chair.
Chair?
Tim?
Yeah, just to reiterate on what Treasurer Patterson said, it's not an issue with Gabby, not at all. It is the process. I mean, in the board packet, I didn't see a job description, duties, no PASA script. I mean, and I like the idea, let's just, for her sake, employment's sake, just approve it for
90
60,
days.
90 days.
90 days.
And cross every T and dot every I. That's all we want to do. That's all we want to do. Back to you, Chair.
Just, she's gonna come back to work tomorrow.
Cross every T, dot every I, Don, that's it. She's good.
I just find it amazing that you guys know what I need better than I do.
We're not saying that.
I mean, it's my office. I tell you what I need, and I'm telling you right now. If I don't
We're
get
giving it to you.
listen, if I don't get labor in my office, I am ultimately, responsible through the state of Michigan for all the elections that take place, personally. That's not gonna fall on me. That's gonna fall on this board for not giving me the tools to do my job. I'm just telling you, this is real. We're getting real. You wanna get technical about it. That's the technical part. No, I'll agree if she'll even agree. I don't know if she'll agree. This is, you're asking me to do things now that I have no idea.
Go ahead, Bart.
You put me in a spot where I can't answer that. I can't answer what she'll agree to or what the union will agree to at this point.
Sure, so, it could be said both ways, Don. I don't want to get into a match back and forth of a this for that, but when you say we're putting you in a position, you are putting us in a position on this too, and it's an uncomfortable conversation here as well.
It's absolutely
So,
an uncomfortable
okay,
conversation.
Really.
And so like, if Gabby would have, I'm sure she would have been amiable even 2 weeks ago to accept a 90-day position. We are trying to. If
You guys had your chance last meeting to extend it, and you did
and
not.
you had your chance to answer phone calls.
I was
and call
on-
back
I
and
was
make
on
the case.
vacation.
I get
I've
it.
answered
I
every
understand.
call.
Okay.
But all we're trying to say is that it's we are. I don't know why. I can't be more transparent on it. I am trying to give you the tools. I think that the board is trying to give you the tools to hire Gabby, but it's a process that is all we're asking to go through. And if it's 90 days, she might be able to be hired by the board in the next 30 days. If we can just
If we get all
work
the
the whole
Ts
process
crossed.
out, put it on the next agenda, to approve to put on the inventory list, to post for it. We have 2 weeks, whatever, for posting, for turning in applications. We do interviews. Maybe it's the beginning of September, mid-September.
She's full-time.
And
Full-time.
that
Okay,
position's
okay.
filled.
I'll do it one time. Gabby, I hate to put you in this position. Would you consider staying another 90 days until this could get worked out? As long as your union has the ASME union has no issues with it?
Thank you, Gabby.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
And
Gabby.
thank you for not getting up and walking out.
Come on, Don.
Oh,
Jesus.
No, I'm saying, guys,
Come on.
Oh,
Oh,
we
man.
had it right there too, Don.
Just a quick question, is that 90 days full-time or part-time?
Part-time.
It's-
Okay, and you'll have to amend the motion before,
It'd be exempt,
that's
yeah,
before
so-
you, right? Okay,
That
just wanted to
would
make sure
be-
we were aware of that.
Right. Don, Clerk Laporte had made the motion, seconded by Frazier. So if you wanted to amend the motion or rescind the motion, somebody else can make a motion.
I'll rescind the motion and make a new motion to extend Gabrielle Massey's employment 90 days, part-time,
Part-time.
Support.
Starting
tomorrow.
tomorrow. Yep.
Roll call vote.
Yep.
Honey,
Yes.
Rush,
Yes.
Laporte,
Yes.
Bowman, yes. Patterson,
Yes.
Frazier,
Yes.
motion carried. Still love you,
Not happy, but yeah, I still love you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
Since my name was used a few times, I didn't want to get involved in the discussion. May I have the floor for just a moment, please?
Absolutely.
So look, here's the way it works. Board members and townships they're subjected to the Constitution of the state of Michigan and whatever statutes are in place. And both of these are minimal in terms of control. What you're looking at is the last bastion of pure democracy. What I mean by that is majority rules. There's no constitutional requirement, there's no statutory requirement that boards have to hire or fire or process anything other than complying with the statutory duties that are imposed upon them by the Constitution. Boards can choose how to deal with employees. Boards can choose what policies to adopt. Boards can choose how they want to proceed on anything. There's an overlay of a union contract that we enter into from time to time as it relates to AFSCME employees and police officers. If we ratify those agreements, then we live by them. But other than that, whatever policies are created by the board, they can change at any time. They're not carved in stone. What they do is they exist at the pleasure of the township board. What you're looking at is the sovereign government of the township of Sumpter. So if the majority of the board wants to have a hiring policy, so be it. If the majority of the board doesn't want to have a hiring policy, so be it. However this moves forward is as the board decides. So in the circumstances that I'm looking at here, we did away, as my recollection, if my recollection is correct, with posting requirements and giving first right of refusal to those that are here. We've honored that over time because the board thought that might be the right thing to do. But in terms of a mandate, I don't see it that way. I can take another look at it, but I don't see it that way. And in terms of the union, when I was having these conversations as they were expressed being made, I looked at a letter from the union, from the AFSCME union, and they were saying, we support the request by the clerk to make her a full-time employee. So what that tells me is, at least from the union's perspective, when we talk about union contracts and the requirements and all of that, they had no problem. So when you put all of that together and you process it, what it comes down to is this. It's at the board's pleasure as to what steps that they want to take. You can create a policy as 10 times more in depth than you have right now, or like I said, you can do away with it. That is my opinion. That is the way that I see it. That is the way that I read it when I read the Constitution and the MCLA statutes. That is the way I see it when I read the union contracts. So I want to be clear about that. There's no requirements other than those requirements that are self-imposed. And as we know, self-imposed requirements can be modified. So I hope that clarifies the position, as at least it relates to me.
Very much so, Rod. Thank you for saying that. Okay.
And if anybody ever thought we always work things out before we come here, they couldn't be more dead wrong. More dead wrong
You know what?
if they didn't witness this tonight.
Thank you for saying that, Mr. Laporte, because that is absolutely correct. I mean, the board has a lot of discussions at this board table, more so than other communities that I have the pleasure of representing.
It's called the Open Meetings Act.
What it's called.
Okay. So, do our thing.
Item D.
Item D. Okay. Consider approval of Hennessy Engineers to complete the water asset management plan at a cost not to exceed $101,620.
So moved.
All in
Support.
favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. E, consider approval to switch from BSNA net to BSNA A cloud at total price of $83,690. BSNA will honor the price on the agreement signed in 2024. Additional cost includes adding the work order program from the original quote, target implementation of May 2026.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. F, consider approval to pay outstanding invoice to Diversified Excavating and Site Utilities totaling $40,100.
So moved.
Support. Can we get some
Discussion.
discussion on that?
Yes.
I'd like some more details on those invoices when they start coming in,
Okay.
to where we understand what we're paying for. I understand that the work got done because I did a lot of calling around, talking to people, but, you know, when they come in, there's a proper way that, obviously, they come through the clerk's office, another document, and they need to be accurate. They need to be clean. Well, there needs to be a line for labor, a line for materials, a line for, like, equipment. They need to be broken down, not just one line with a dollar amount on it. You know what I mean? And then they gotta be signed with the date that the work was performed, and who from the township was there and witnessed the work being done. Or, in this case, Ron Tabor would sign off on, hey, the work was performed on this day. By putting his signature on the invoice, he's vouching that everything was done appropriately and within the scope of the work, of the quotation. That was not done. So, moving forward, we've talked about this in the past, let's do a better job with our invoices. You've got a full-time water clerk at your disposal, Ron? Start using her to whatever needs you have to make these invoices more accurate before they come into the clerk's office. Because moving forward, I would just as soon reject them all right back until they're cleaned up and fixed and proper, so we can pay them correctly and get them stored correctly.
Okay, so we have motion and support?
Sure, if I may add too. Just wanted, in support of what Clerk Laporte just said too, is not to reiterate it or beat it up again too, and I appreciate our township manager and new DPW directors, but this is before them, so trying to clean up the mess on it, but too, like, we've asked in the past that we have more detail when it comes to description. It's a description area with just a small little thing that came across initially, just said 2-inch tap short. Well, you know, when we're talking about like, well, what is that? Where was that? Or were they all on the same date? When was the date of the work? Who ordered this? When was it completed? Just more information like that. That's all that we're requesting. It's just that, so that we don't obviously look foolish as a board too. You guys are just paying bills to come in and like, was the work even done? We don't even know. So just things that were signed off, but these were not, right here, there's some more description that's added in with different signatures. That wasn't what was originally said over what was included, so we're just asking when they get turned in, there's a little bit more detail with that, that's all. I appreciate what the report was saying on that, so thank you.
Yeah, there's no complaint with the work.
Yeah, no,
At
not
all.
at all.
It's, you know, it's just crossing, you know, here we are again, talking about being accurate, crossing the Ts, dotting the Is, following procedure,
process.
right?
Yeah.
Okay,
You just,
well, if we were supposed to follow procedure, how long has this bill been due?
There were 8 invoices that came in one day with the same date on each invoice.
And how long ago was that?
Again, we don't know.
We don't
It
know.
was transition between,
we don't know.
Whose
came in
fault
from
is that?
previous township manager and
The clerk's
it got
office
lost in
or-
the dust.
don't know.
That when it got lost in the.
Don't know when they
in the
even
soup?
came in. I mean, I literally got them the day after I seen you talking about them. That's when I was made aware of
Well,
them.
I couldn't know, everybody I talked to in the building couldn't figure out where they went to. They were sent over, I guess Tony sent them to Ron across the street. Is
I
that-
talked to Mr. Moon, he told me he sent them to everybody but the clerk's office.
Okay.
So,
Here's a question.
and I made him very much aware that if he wants his bills paid, they gotta come to the clerk's office, accounts
no,
payable.
I'm good with all that,
No,
but
no,
I'm just,
what we're just asking a question is this, is like, with this right here, without this or without this, what date was the work done? It's not on there. No, there weren't 8 jobs done on one day, so I mean, it was different, it's a different job. Who authorized it? When was it completed? Who verified that the work was done? That's all we're saying, it's just
Yeah,
more
yeah, yeah.
information. But as far as when it came in,
where
we
did it
don't,
go?
we don't know. We could do a forensics on it,
You
line
probably-
people up against the wall and shine a light in their
Well,
face. but-
that's all I'm getting at. you
Yeah.
know.
Tim, there's a lot of people doing this.
Yeah, but going forward, we've all had the
Going forward,
conversation.
we could improve on our end too, is that what you're saying?
I
Yeah.
think every aspect of it can be improved, but it needs to start with a better description.
And handling being handled better when it gets to us, right?
Correct. And
Okay.
based upon our new
So we have a
DPW work.
motion.
Well, when we know we can get
And
it, yeah.
support. We have a motion and support.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. There we go.
Thank you. Item G. Item G is, it's the item G, we have item G,
Oh,
so
item
it's-
G,
we're gonna be
okay.
reading from the
Right.
first page, so it's, if Rob, if you could read, it's the second reading for the amendment for section what is it, Article 4, section 4.6.2, if you could read that.
We made some changes to section, article, like you said, section 6.48 regarding special land use for certain permitted and non-permitted uses. So we had a first reading back in November, and we needed to have a second reading, but it got past me, so this is the second reading to adopt is all it is. So we're approving for a second time that which we approved in November of last year.
So moved.
So, yep, support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? Motion carried. Okay,
Announcements.
announcements. No announcements?
Motion to adjourn. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.